Suichi is the name I've taken in my human form. That woman is my mother, sort of. My father passed away years ago. For 15 years, she has brought me up, while I have deceived her.
Sorry, I'm not following.
My truest name is Yoko. I was a fox, a spirit fox, gaining the powers of a demon over the hundreds of years that I lived. In time, I became bored, and passed my hours learning the art of breaking codes and seals. Ancient treasures were my favorite sport. But 15 years ago, I made a careless mistake and was badly injured by a strong pursuer. With the last energy I had, I escaped to the living world and became the child of a proud human family, knowing that if I could withstand humanity for 10 years, my spirit energy would have time to safely recover. Then, I would escape without a trace.
I take it something went wrong.
My mother fell ill. I know it might sound foolish, but I couldn't leave her, considering what she had done for me. That's when they appeared. Hiei had somehow tracked me down, needing my expertise, and I remembered the powers of the Forlorn Hope. Did you know in some species a child eats its mother? Let me use the Forlorn Hope to save the woman's life, then I'll accept my punishment.
But why would a monster do that for a human?
I don't know. Maybe because I'm guilty. Maybe I feel like I am one of those mother-devouring creatures. I've caused her great pains. It's hard raising a child who thinks you're inferior. I feel I broke her spirit, like maybe, in some way, I caused her disease.
Why are you telling me all this?
Maybe I just needed someone to know. Besides, I could tell that you would trust me.
Jura, I really did it! I can feel his spirit energy getting weaker.
You're going to be late for school, Suichi. I love you, Mother. Today's the most joyful day of my life. I'll call him Suichi.
You know, maybe I've gone a bit too far this time. Huh? Hold on, his spirit energy's completely vanished. That's not supposed to happen!
What the? Do you feel that too?
Where in the world did this power surge come from? I could have sworn I felt his power weakening as he regressed all the way back.
I think perhaps I've regressed further than you intended. And just as I had come to accept my human captivity, Yoko has returned, they cry.
Ah, did you say Yoko? Yoko the spirit fox? Yoko the legendary bandit? Yoko? What did you do with Kurama? I liked him a lot better!
Oh, he's here. He's me. Only now you've brought me out in full. Thank you for that. Yes, I'm so flattered you've heard of me. But as you see, the stories were incorrect. It's like a thunderstorm in there. Where's all that weird energy I'm feeling coming from?
It's all Kurama, down to the last drop.
Different somehow and a heck of a lot more powerful.
Seems that fool he's been fighting has turned him back into his demon form before he was tainted by you humans. 15 years ago, the spirit fox, Yoko Kurama, was thought to have been killed while escaping from a botched burglary. In desperation, he hid himself in your world, using a human body to slowly recover his energy. He thought no one would find him. I did.
So you're telling me this is him? That's very funny, eh? I heard boogeyman stories about Yoko in lockdown, and this red-haired princess ain't it. You want me to believe you're the real legend? You're gonna have to get out of that skin!
I cannot do that. This is a merger, not a possession, and I can no more separate from my current human biology than you can from your cute conky horns.
Convenient excuse! We're about to storm King Yama's most guarded vault, and you can't prove you're not some human kid playing pretend. I don't like it.
Why don't you settle it then? If you don't trust his abilities, then fight him and see.
That's why I'm running with you, Hiei. You're always keeping it simple. Yeah, I'll just have to crush him. Huh?
It is true, I'm not as strong as before. But I've also acquired priorities to protect. I'm glad to show you what those new priorities can make me do. If you care to try.
Ha! We going on a date?
Rose, wait!
Okay, Kurama. I was just joking. I'm sure you'll be fine to work with for a while.
Now, we'll see what the purest form of Kurama can do.
Alright, so listen. Your higher self and its reason for coming here. So the video I just put in was from Yu Yu Hakusho. And in that anime, you have a character named Kurama. And what happens with him is that you can see his soul, his ultimate power, his secret power was sleeping within his human body the whole time. And they show you that it went to sleep within a certain individual who had a certain identity and a certain life, people that he loved and cared about. But his true reason for being in that body is not stated until it truly awakens from within him. He knows his reason for being there because he never allowed himself to fully be attached to his human identity, in which he'll fully forget who he is. So that's essentially what happens to us. When you're first born, when we're all born, you always know exactly what you're here for. And even when you start to forget, once you form the certain attachments and the ego starts to take over versus the true identity of who you really are, you still have an inkling towards what you're supposed to do here. And so you can see that through the lens of Kurama, because Kurama, his power was always there and he had a certain mission in his mind. He just didn't allow himself to get fully attached. Yes, he formed lasting bonds. Like you can see, he formed it with his mother. His mother is someone that people, his enemies, use against him because they know his humanity, his human self is going to react to that. And you have to understand, whatever you're attached to as a human being, not spiritually, but whatever you're attached to as a human being, whatever your identity, which is who and what you say you are, who and what you say you stand for, and who and whatever your personality is, who you've been raised as, whatever that person gets emotional about, that's also your weakness. And so you can see throughout the show that Kurama, even though he knows his villains or his enemies are going to use his mother against him, to threaten him, he always remains one step ahead. Why is he able to remain one step ahead? Because he's using his higher intelligence to make decisions for him. He already knows that people are going to play dirty. Demons are going to play dirty. His enemies are going to play dirty. And you could say the same thing for how things turn out in day-to-day life. You already know life is going to play dirty with you. But if you have your higher self and your soul as a spiritual beacon for you, as your guidance, then you can never go wrong. You're always going to be, that sleeping power thing is always going to be right there to help you out. But you have to be doing the spiritual work to really feel it there. And you also have to be able to be willing to let go of whatever your emotional human attachments are, in favor of getting to know the true reality within you. Because we always like to say this is a matrix, so why don't we start treating it like what we say it is? Treat it like a matrix, treat it like a video game, because truthfully, life really is a video game, and it really is, you know, a matrix. It really is an illusion. So whatever you do in this illusion is up to you. However you maneuver through this illusion is really up to you. It's just up to you in terms of how you want to progress through that illusion, who you want to become in that illusion, who you want to become in this video game that we say that is life. You know, life being a game, you have to stick to it. And it's up to you to really make that the reality that you want it to be. This is exactly why video games are, a lot of people find them very addictive, or they'll get really hooked on video games. And the reason why people get very hooked on video games is simply because of the fact that it's showing you who and what you could possibly be. Every time you get into a video game, you develop a character, or you progress, you go up the ranks, create a character, and you just do whatever the fuck you want to do. In the game, you're showing yourself, or you're going through the steps that you should normally be going through in day-to-day life, leveling up, you know, progressing certain attributes, you know, and developing certain attributes within yourself to truly transform into a higher being, to level up, you know, to grow individually. You know, every skill, every trait that you have, all the experience points that you need to gain, is all within your grasp. You have to treat it like a video game. And also, in treating it like a video game, you cannot be so caught up in what happens in the overworld. You have to follow the directions that you're given and use them to your advantage. Use the system of the game to your advantage. Use the mechanics of the game to advantage. But you can only do that when you learn and really understand how the game works. And you have to understand how to control your personal character. So, you know, Kurama does this really well simply because of the fact that he's able to use his higher self as a beacon. And as you can see, as the show goes on, he doesn't even have to transform or, you know, take a potion to get closer to his higher self, to get closer to Yoko Kurama. You know, he just starts to become him slowly, even in his flesh. And the reason why is because that the more he taps into it, obviously the closer and the more fused they become. So you could do the same thing. The more that you tap into your higher self, the more that you follow the directions of your higher self, you follow the directions of your soul and what you're here to do, and you just keep doing that faithfully, obviously the closer your spirit is going to be. And the less you'll really have to do, and the less you'll really have to look outside of yourself. You know, that the power will always be there, but, you know, and the answers will always be there. They're always within, but it's up to you to really tap in and figure that out for yourself. So how do you do that? You know, you have to do that through following through what it is that you're here to do. You know, you can take any path that you're choosing to take. You can, and when it comes to spiritual practices, you know, whatever works for you, but you have to be willing to open up and really, you know, dig deep and figure out which is exactly the way that you want to go, because there's a million spiritual practices out there. They might not all work for you. There's a million, you know, different mythologies. There's a million different, you know, entities that you can relate to and pull power from, you know, and it's not even just from, you know, what's in mythology, but it's also from, you know, whatever's in video games, anime, TV shows, whatever the case may be. There's always a character, there's always a symbol that you can pull power from. And, you know, also you want to take it upon yourself to truly learn and understand the matrix that you live in, and the mechanics of the matrix. You know, this is just normal. You have to understand what it is you're doing, what's really going on, and not what's being told to you. Whatever's being told to you is obviously meant to keep you in a box, and you can't break free from that box without thinking outside of it. You know, you have to put yourself in your higher self's shoes and really be like, you know, what would I look like as the best version of myself? And then start planning backwards and start becoming that. Embody those traits. What would you do on a day-to-day basis that would embody the best version of you? That's all you're here for, really. And, you know, the more that you play that game, you know, the more that you keep at it, obviously the closer you'll get, the more powerful you'll get, and the stronger you get, and the stronger your message will get. And obviously no rules will apply to you, because at the end of the day, it's still a video game. At the end of the day, life is still a matrix. So it's up to you to really take it into your hands and start to mold it in your favor. and start to pull that power in your favor. And when it comes to releasing those human attachments, you just have to realize that, you know, as much as this might seem real, you can't let it get to you spiritually. You don't deny the emotions, you don't push them away, you don't ignore the human experience. You do what you're supposed to do, and you pay attention to whatever you're supposed to pay attention to in your day-to-day life with family, friends, wherever the case may be. But when it comes to when you get into that zone, when you get into that environment where you're doing your spiritual practices and you're living your purpose, whatever the case may be, following whatever you're supposed to be doing here, you have to be willing to separate that human self and the person that you are when you're doing that, and fully immerse yourself into who that is, whoever that is. And when you start to do that, then you'll realize who's really witnessing the events going on. And once you start to realize who's witnessing it, then it's like putting in cheat codes into the video game, because now you've learned how to truly control yourself. You learn how to control the body first by disciplining it. You learn how to control your mind and your emotions. Why? Because if you discipline your mind and your emotions, whatever happens in the human experience can't affect you. And you learn how to do that by letting go of fear, reading books on how to spiritually conquer your lower emotions, how to spiritually conquer your desires, how to spiritually conquer anything that might hold you back, and perfecting spiritual practices. And then obviously the books are only going to take you to a certain level. So eventually you're going to start getting messages from within, you know, listening to your intuition, listening to the symbols that your dreams are presenting you, and writing them down and putting things into practice. As you start to do that, then you'll start to realize that higher power is really working for you, you know. And the more that I started doing those things, that's how I felt that higher power really started working for me. And even now, you know, the more that I follow, the more that I listen to myself, you know, the more that I, you know, put these symbols into practice, and the more that I keep doing what I'm doing, including making videos, you know, making stories, and, you know, drawing and all that stuff, and learning how to code and everything, that's the more I start to see that, you know, my inner awareness, that higher self really breaking through into this video game and moving through me. And that whatever person that I was before that had no connection to that is fading into the background, and now is becoming a tool for me to use. And obviously, yes, do I still interact the same way, you know, with other people? Of course. You know, I don't get so immersed into my higher self that I'm not present, you know, physically. You want to find a balance, but you also don't want to allow one to overtake the other too much. You know, you want to just keep a certain level of awareness and allow that to grow and work through you, and everything will work accordingly. So that's the video. Drop a like and share the video around. If you need a consultation, you can DM me on Instagram. The link is on my bio and in the description. Wish you all luck in your journey, and peace.